Remember who you are, not what they created for us. We're going to take this world and rebuild it in our image. And there will be intel in this section. Listen closely. Even though we're said to not have intel by Miss Zero predictions. But there you go. Cult centers is a continuation of the Sobek story, which will fill in and connect more dots and lead to an ultimate conclusion. Now, the entire Fayum region, the land of the lake in Egyptian, specifically referring to Lake Moeris, served as a cult center of Sobek, and most Fayum towns developed their own localized versions of the god, such as Sokneb Tunis at Teb Tunis, Sokon Okoni at Bacchius, and Susei at an unknown site in the area. Susei looks Asian or Chinese to me. At Karanis, two forms of the god were worshipped, Penepteros and Petsukos. Their mummified crocodiles were employed as cult images of Petsukos. Sobek Shedeti, the patron of the Fayum's centrally located capital, Crocodileopolis, or the Egyptian Shedet, was the most prominent form of the god. Extensive building programs honouring Sobek were realised in Shedet, as it was the capital of the entire Arsenoid nome and consequently the most important city in the region. It is thought that the effort to expand Sobek's main temple was initially driven by Ptolemy II, or is it Ptolemy? Not Ptol, but Ptal. For those of you who remembered last week's show. Now, Ptolemy's origin is said to be Greek. No. He wrote in ancient Greek and be shown to have utilized Babylonian astronomical data, which means he was involved with Marduk and others who came from the stars, hence he was dominant in astronomy. It is said he might have been a Roman citizen, but was ethnically either a Greek or even a Hellenized Egyptian. Hell being the operative word. He was often known in later Arabic sources as the Upper Egyptian, suggesting he may have had origins in southern Egypt. Ptolemy Almagest is the only surviving comprehensive ancient treatise on astronomy. Now, Babylonian astronomers had developed arithmetical techniques for calculating astronomical phenomena, all of which was given to them by the fake gods. That's where it came from. Specialized priests in the main temple at Shedet functioned solely to serve Sobek, boasting titles like Prophet of the Crocodile Gods and the one who buries of the bodies of the crocodile gods of the land of the lake. Worshipping crocodiles. Does that make any sense whatsoever? Well, actually, it makes about as much sense as the Bible, until you add in the extraterrestrial slant to the book, and then it makes a whole heap of sense. Now, for the Greco-Roman period, the settlements at Bacchius, Narmuthus, Soknopiau,
Nessos, Tebtunis, and Theodelphia, or the Adelphia, it sounds familiar, does it not? At the edges of the Fayum provide numerous papyri, ostraka, and inscriptions that relate to temples and priests of Sobek and his local incarnations. Now, the sources from these 5 settlements are central to study cult practice, temple economy, there's that word temple again, and social networks of priestly families under Roman rule. Priestly families are Cohens or Khans. Now, outside Fayum, Kom Ombo in southern Egypt was the biggest cultic centre of Sobek, particularly during the Ptolemaic and Roman periods. Kom Ombo is located about 30 miles north of Aswan and was built during the Greco-Roman period 332 BCE to 395 BCE, when the Lord came down. The temple at this site is called the Per Sobek, meaning the house of Sobek, a bit like the house of Israel. Now, the character and surrounding mythologies related to this is Sovek, Sucus, Kronos, oh my, the god of time, and Saturn by Jean-François Champollion, 1823-1825, which is in, no surprise, the Brooklyn Museum. Sobek is, above all else, an aggressive and animalistic deity who lives up to the vicious reputation of his patron animal, the large and violent Nile crocodile, West African crocodile. One has to ask, is the crocodile in Africa descendants of these beings? Now, some of his common epithets betray this nature succinctly, the most notable of which being, he loves robbery, he who eats while he also mates, and pointed of teeth. However, it said he also displays grand benevolence in more than one celebrated myth. After his association with Horus and consequent adoption into the Osirian triad of Osiris, Isis, and Horus in the Middle Kingdom, Sobek became associated with Isis as a healer of the deceased Osiris following his violent murder by Set. And this is where the term Israel comes from. Isis, Ra, El. El means God, but there's also another Egyptian fake god called El. And that wasn't too pleasant either. And when you throw in the fact that Islam means Isis hidden, and you realize the whole Middle East religions are the worship and subservience of fake gods from other worlds. All of it. But it's from this association with healing that Sobek was considered a protective deity. So Sobek, healing and protective deity. Perhaps the caduceus is a symbol of Sobek and the propensity to shift bodies via the vril technique. Now, his fierceness was able to ward off evil while simultaneously defending the innocent. But the point is, who is the object of evil in comparison to them? Because they are the dark forces. He was thus made a subject of personal piety and a common recipient of votive offerings, particularly in the later periods of the ancient Egyptian history. And it was not uncommon, particularly in Ptolemaic and Roman Egypt, for crocodiles to be preserved as mummies to present as Sobek's cultic centres. Sobek also offered mummified crocodile eggs meant to emphasize the cyclical nature of his solar attributes to Sobek Ra, and likewise crocodiles were raised on religious grounds as living incarnations of Sobek, and upon their deaths they were mummified in a grand ritual display as sacred but earthly manifestations of their patron god. And this practice was executed specifically at the main temple of Crocodileopolis. And these mummified crocodiles have been found with baby crocodiles in their mouths and on their backs. And it is said the crocodile is one of the few reptiles that diligently care for their young, often transports it to offspring in this manner. But if that was the case, why do so few of the crocodiles or alligators survive? Just saying. Now, the practice of preserving this aspect of the animal's behavior via mummification is likely intended to emphasize the protective and nurturing aspects of the fierce Sobek as he protects the Egyptian people in the same manner that the crocodile protects its young. And in Ptolemaic and Roman Egypt, a local monograph called the Book of Fayum centered on Sobek, with a considerable portion devoted to the journey made by Sobek Ra each day with the movement of the sun through the sky. Ra declared himself the fake solar god. And the text also focuses heavily on Sobek's central role in creation as the manifestation of Ra, as he is said to have risen from the primal waters of Lake Moeris, not unlike the Og-Dode in the traditional creation myth of Hermopolis. Now, if you look at the lake, or the shape of the lake, Moeris, Moeris, it is eerily similar to the shape of the island in Jurassic Park. And perhaps Ra rising out of the waters there meant that it was an underwater base, or the Stargate was buried by the water after the flood. Whether it's Ra, Marduk, Baal, Apophis, Hathor, Isis, or any other of those fake gods, we the people don't want or need them sullying and denigrating our people and our planet. But perhaps a warning to all people who may think these Egyptian pieces and fake gods are the past. A reminder of the two letters before many words, R-E. Notice they switch from Ra to Re or Ray. Why? Because Re means return or do again. And with that in context, perhaps the Klaus Schwab plan needs a closer look. The Great Reset. Are they planning the return of Set? Let's look at another prominent word for the Jewish, shall we? And is there a connection to something just mentioned? Knesset. As the supreme state body, the Knesset is sovereign and thus has complete control over the entirety of the Israeli government. Knesset is sovereign. Knes means a nautical knot. Set is a fake Egyptian god. So Knesset means tied by a knot to set. And in case you're wondering where the nautical comes into it, perhaps the term to set sail clarifies that. Their great reset was the return of the gods, and what I hinted at in that Must Listen To show in February of this year. They bet on the Dark Forces winning the Galactic and Beyond War. And then they would come back to finish off here and many other planets. They thought wrong. Much has been done and won on other levels, including major victories in the past month. Planes and dimensions also. Much has been won above, on and below in the physical realms, where we all spend so much of our time residing in and on. The clean and clear up on and in this planet goes on at a pace of much of what is happening in their world is not what it seems. What may be bad may turn out good, and what may have appeared good will be shown in a clear format to not be the case. The whole thing is a theatre show, and Macron, Trump, Cyrus, Kushner, and others playing archetypal roles for and on behalf of these fake gods. The lead harvesting family on this planet via life force energy, known as money, is one group of these entities. The Rothschilds family line all have the highest DNA of the reptile group, of which the Lord of the Bible was one, Anu, and the control of energy exchange via the trust was another, Marduk. Given one of Marduk's consorts was Queen Esther, and is another title of the current trustee, leaves many questions unanswered. But from my understanding, her ability to affect anything anymore is now rendered mute, whether she's Queen Esther or not. It may well come to pass that there is a storm bringer coming, and it will be their time to die. I would prefer transmute, but whatever steps that are necessary for the progression and advancement of our species, that will prevail.